So over the weekend, Donald Trump had some campaign stops. And during one of those campaign stops, he actually advocated for violence.
What the hell is going on? See, we have to let the police do their job. And if they have to be extraordinarily rough. And you know, the funny thing with all of that stuff, look at the department stores, same thing. They walk into you see these guys walking out with air conditioners, with refrigerators on their back, the craziest thing. And the police aren't allowed to do their job. They're told, if you do anything, you're going to lose your pension, you're going to lose your family, your house, your car. The police want to do it. The Border Patrol wants to do it. Border Patrol, they're incredible. They want to do it. They're not allowed to do it because the liberal left won't let them do it. The liberal left wants to destroy them, and they want to destroy our country. You know, if you had one day, like one real rough, nasty day with the drugstores as an example, where when they start walking out with, you know, she created something in San Francisco, $950 you're allowed to steal. Anything above that, you will be prosecuted. Well, it works out that the 950 is a misnomer because you can steal whatever you want, you can go way above. But you'd see, originally you saw kids walk in with calculators. They were calculators. They didn't want to go over the $950. They're standing with calculators, adding it up. You know, these are smart people. They're not so stupid, but they have to be taught. Now, if you had one really violent day, like a guy like Mike Kelly, put him in charge, Congressman Kelly, put him in charge for one day. Mike, would you say, he's right here, he's a great congressman. Would you say, Mike, that if you were in charge, you would say, oh, please, don't touch them, let them rob your store. Let all these stores go out of business, right? They don't pay rent, the city doesn't have money. It's a chain of events that's so bad. One rough hour, and I mean real rough, the word will get out, and it will end immediately. End immediately. You know, it'll end immediately.
We have to let the police do their job. He's talking about indemnifying the police, giving them immunity. That's number one. And then he goes on to say, and if they have to be extraordinarily rough, then so be it. Who do you think the police will be extraordinarily rough with? And him indemnifying the police would mean that the police would get away with it. There's no holding the police accountable for being extraordinarily rough. So, black people, if you manage to live after being stopped by a police officer who was extraordinarily rough with you, then there's no recourse for you. Should you end up with severe injuries, life-threatening injuries that you live through, there's no recourse for you. There's no civil suit, and the government will not hold those police officers accountable. Yeah. And then that one day, that 1 hour of allowing extreme violence, that is why when I went over to Twitter this morning, I saw the purge was trending. He's advocating for everyday people to be able to be violent towards other people. And then he says it would stop. But he didn't stop there. He talked about overtime. He talked about overtime pay. And this is what he had to say about it.
And you know, it's going to lead to great things. A lot of people don't give. I know a lot about overtime. I'd hated to give overtime. I hated it. I'd get other people, I shouldn't say this, but I'd get other people in I wouldn't pay. I hated. This is going to lead to a lot more. I think it's going to be economically positive, but I'm not even doing it for that reason. I'm doing it because like the no tax on overtime, it's something so.
So I think the lie that he's telling, because this is the only clip I see, and I'm not going to find the full video and have to sit through and watch Donald Trump's entire speech. I'm not doing that. So I gather from this clip, he's basically stating that he's not going to tax overtime pay. And in trying to push this narrative, he's also telling us how he hated to pay overtime pay. Now, I don't know, call me crazy, but if someone tells me that they hated to pay overtime pay to employees that were due that pay, and he would find a way around it and not be paying that overtime pay by getting someone else to come in, I would bet that he's lying, that he's not going to tax overtime pay. As a matter of fact, I remembered that there was a discussion in Project 2025 that talks about cheating employees out of overtime pay. So I went on over to the chat GPT, and I put in, what does Project 2025 say about not paying overtime? And this is what I got back. Project 2025 does not propose eliminating overtime pay outright, but it suggests significant changes to how overtime is calculated. Currently, employees receive overtime pay after working more than 40 hours in a week. However, Project 2025 proposes allowing employers to calculate overtime pay over a longer period of time, such as 2 to 4 weeks. This would mean that instead of earning overtime for working extra hours in a single week, employees will need to work more than the total allowable hours over the longer period. Critics argue that this could reduce overtime pay for workers, as it would make it easier for companies to manage schedules in a way that avoids triggering overtime requirements. Additionally, the plan includes provisions that allow employees to choose between receiving overtime pay or compensatory time off, which some would worry could give employers too much control over workers' schedules and compensation. In essence, while overtime pay wouldn't be eliminated under Project 2025, the proposed changes could lead to fewer workers receiving it, and it would give employers more flexibility in managing work hours. You know, the MAGA nuts love to get down in my comment section and tell me that Donald Trump doesn't know anything about Project 2025. And yet, a lot of the things that Donald Trump talks about, you can find directly in Project 2025. Stiffing workers out of overtime pay, IVF, critical race theory, LGBTQ, education, abortion, all of the things he talks about when it comes to that, you can find in Project 2025. Immigrants in the country, all of that is in Project 2025. Everything he talks about, you can find in Project 2025. You know why that is? Because Donald Trump is Project 2025. They are one and the same. Vote blue in November.